The jury now deliberating in the defamation case against former President Trump. Advice columnist E. Jean Carroll claims Trump raped her in a luxury Manhattan department store in the 90s. The judge read instructions to the 9-person jury this morning for about an hour. After that, the jurors started their discussion over the civil claims of battery and defamation. Tre Lovell is a defamation and entertainment attorney. He joins us now live to talk more about all of this. Thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Of course. So first off, we know that deliberations did begin a bit earlier on today. The instructions went for about an hour, so the rest of the time has been those discussions over the charges there. Any indication as to how long it could take for deliberations in a case like this one?
Well, generally, it's very difficult to estimate how long a jury is going to be out to deliberate. However, in this particular case, I would think it would be shorter than longer. In a case like this, where it's a he said, she said, the evidence is very straightforward, and most jurors have probably either made up their minds or have come close there too, before going to that jury box or into that jury room. And so at that point, it's just going to be a matter of getting people together, getting, everybody aligned. Maybe there would be one or two holdouts or so. But in a case like this, where the evidence is not complicated, there's not a whole lot of it, and, the credibility is the main factor, jurors typically will get an impression, in live time as they're listening to the evidence. So I would guess that it won't be, it'll be shorter than longer. Of course, we really don't know, but I wouldn't think it would go many days at all.
So I want to go back to basics here. This is a civil case. It is not criminal, of course. So what sort of penalty are we talking about?
So in a civil case, it's about money. There's no threat of imprisonment. There's no threat of any criminal sanction. Here it's just about monetary damages. And it's about whether or not Trump is liable for what the claims are. And if he is, what the jury's gonna believe are the appropriate damages. And so in that sense, it's not as serious in terms of taking away your freedom and putting you in jail. But, there could be significant ramifications here. And if a jury really believes he did what he said he did and that she sustained the damages that she claims, it could be a significant monetary award.
And of course, we already kind of touched on this, but any way to determine which way the jury might be leaning in this case?
It's a little bit tough. I mean, Jean Carroll's side put on a very good case. They pretty much put on all the evidence of the case. She testified. They had corroborating witnesses who she supposedly told about the incident around the time it happened to support that it did happen. She brought in other witnesses who Donald Trump had allegedly performed the same type of acts against them to show he had a propensity to do it. She had experts. And from Donald Trump's side, he really didn't have any evidence, just relying on the cross-examination of Carroll and the other ones. However, from a reasonable sense, Ms. Carroll, her conduct wasn't really similar to a rape victim. It was somewhat antithetical to being a rape victim. When she was in the department store dressing room, she didn't yell out. When she was trying to struggle to get away, she kept her purse and didn't even drop her purse. When she did get away, she didn't go to the closest employee or customer. She just ran straight out, supposedly told a couple of friends, and then that was pretty much it. She was a fan of The Apprentice. She would make jokes about Donald Trump. So, for example, would you sleep with Donald Trump for $17,000? Things like that. That's somewhat antithetical to someone who was raped and suffered significant trauma because of that. And the timing of when this all came out during the release of her book. So you've got two countervailing narratives. You've got a strong evidentiary side on Ms. Carroll's side, and you've got kind of, what makes sense here? What would grandma say on the other side? And so that's really what the jury is going to battle with.
What did you think of the closing arguments just yesterday?
I thought they were pretty strong. I mean, from Ms. Carroll's side, I think they did a good job of tying together the evidence, of really hammering the fact that Donald Trump didn't testify, which is going to make a little bit of an impact on the jurors. The fact that he didn't come to look them in the eye and say, this is not true, this is fabricated, it's false. You really didn't hear from him. Matter of fact, the only testimony they got from him was his deposition testimony, which was going to lean in her favor. But on the flip side, I think Tacopina did what he could. You know, he couldn't get his client to come and testify. He had to rely on the cross-examinations to try to poke holes. And as well as, you know, the other narratives like, you know, why would Donald Trump do this? It makes no sense. Why would he throw everything away? And the facts, you know, as presented, just don't make sense. So I thought they were pretty good. You know, but you know, I'm just not so sure how impactful they'll be, because I think the jurors, by seeing the evidence, probably form their own opinion.
Do you think it matters that Trump was not there to actually testify? Does that play any role in the jury's decision?
I do. I think generally, you know, the jury's going to look at it from an evidentiary perspective, and that's where they're going to assimilate and make their decision. However, the fact he didn't show up really just allows Carol's case to be that much more emboldened. He wasn't there to cut down her testimony, to say his side, to vehemently, object that this is, you know, completely false. They didn't hear from him. And the fact that when a jurors see that a party's not there and the jury's supposed to be there, they're forced to be there, they say, you know, this must not be important enough to him. So sometimes if it's a close call, jurors may use the fact that a party didn't show up, you know, kind of tip the scales. So I don't think it's the end all be all, but it just doesn't look good. And it really allows Carol's case just to, you know, to run away with it.
And we know there are some criminal cases going on against former President Trump. How would a verdict in this case impact the other cases, and really, would it have an impact?
I really don't think it would have an impact. This is kind of a unique one-off. This is a personal situation that allegedly happened years ago. It's not a criminal situation. You know, I don't think it's, if you like Donald Trump, I don't think this is going to make you not like him. You're probably going to think, you know, that she's not telling the truth. If you don't like Donald Trump, you know, and he wins, it's not going to, you know, bring you over to his side. So I don't really think it's going to have an impact on the other litigations. But the problem is that, you know, if she wins, you know, then he's got, you know, one loss in what's going to be a number of these cases, and that doesn't help. I mean, you want to come out of the gates, you know, kind of beating everything, beating all of them. But I don't think it's going to make an impact, you know, on what people think, and certainly what happens in those other cases, because they're going to be limited to the facts.
All right, Tre Lovell there, defamation law attorney. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us. We appreciate it.
Thank you so much.